Welcome to the Monoprice Desktop Headphone Amplifier. These run about $90 on monoprice.com, and they're pretty well reviewed. So I decided to beat the crap out of them with some heavy-duty testing against. I bypassed the DAC in it and went with the my ODAC through the line in, and then I bypassed the headphone amplifier by taking my SAP2 here and running it from the line out so that I could analyze each one individually. So I, using the computer, would use this as the DAC and the headphone amp and listen, and then using the line out to the SAP2, use this as the amplifier, and I can compare which amplifier sounded meh on each. And they're real close. I'm not going to declare a winner on that. Personal preference. I don't know if it's just, craziness saying that this sounds a little better. But we're going to go with very, very, very similar amplification levels. I'm talking about even the angle of the volume knobs was pretty similar as I was switching back and forth. They're vertical, then they're switching back and forth. And so we'll give this one like 94 points and this one 93. Let's move this aside now. Now, when I use the ODAC into this as a source, so through analog, a couple things I noticed. First thing is the 2 volt it's outputting through its lineouts, either the 3.5 or the RCA, when put in this, is louder than when you're using the actual USB DAC in the unit. So I'm not sure what their game is with that, because you want 2 volts, you want full line voltage to an amp so that you could use it fully. And for some reason the internal DAC in this is not outputting 2 volt. And I thought it was going crazy. I tried it with the little M2 here, which hasn't gotten its review yet. I tried it with the ODAC, which I reviewed months ago, and it works great. And for some reason, both of these, when going to line in with max volume on the computer, play louder. The volume knob, in other words, this is where it has to be when I'm using the internal Monoprice headphone amplifier through my HM5s, and that is where it has to be when it's coming through the ODAC or the M2. So for some reason, the internal DAC in this is underpowering. I don't know why. And what that does is that when you're using the headphone output, it limits it. So someone's selling it on AV Exchange, on the subreddit AV Exchange, because he's got 990s plugged in and it doesn't get loud enough. And I'm wondering if it's simply a matter of them limiting the actual, maybe there's distortion. That might be their own internal distortion limiting. They crank the DAC down a couple notches, therefore the headphone amp can't quite get up to distortion levels, which you bypass by putting another source. I had my cow on, I had other things going into the auxiliary in, and I can't take it up to full. I didn't even take it out of low gain. There was a gain switch here for high and low gain. I didn't even get out of that. So I'm not sure if that is the case, but it's just a side note thing. It's weird. It's a weird little note. How do the DACs compare? And I compared the DACs by running RCAs to this, and then the 3.5 Miller out to this, and just swapping back and forth. Well, no. That's not what I did. I was comparing the DACs by switching the actual sound card used, and I had just listened to a song and then play. And I believe the ODAC is superior to that. I don't think anyone will argue that the Monoprice DAC is absolutely 100% the quality of the ODAC. That isn't going to happen. It's good. It's better than an onboard sound. That's for shit sure. But does it beat the ODAC for ones and zeros and absolute separation of left and right? No, I don't think so. So, what does it do? What does the brick provide? Well, it provides a single box that you can... Here, hold on. Let's plug it all in. It's got a 15-volt DC input. It's got a USB input, full size. It means I could launch FooBar, because my FooBar freaks out. It has 6 RCAs. It has an auxiliary in, which I was using to bypass the internal. Which this auxiliary in, if you put your your thing like this into it, will use the line and pre-outs, I believe. I'll double check that in a second. And it has line and pre-outs. Now, line out means no matter what this volume knob in front's doing, the DAC is outputting here. The pre-out means this knob now controls two things. It controls headphone volume and RCA volume out the back. So if you have a desktop amplifier for speakers, like the SMSL SA50 here, you can control the volume with this. And that's sort of a waste for two reasons. One, you've got a volume control already. And two, if you're controlling with this, you lose the ability to leave your headphones plugged in because you'll blow them up. You'll just go, oh, I want to hear the speakers louder, and then that'll blow up. So you'd only really use the pre-out if you didn't have headphones and you wanted to control with this knob instead of that knob. I don't see the reason for it, actually. So ignore those. Let's plug everything else in. Excuse the mess. I had a lot of things going on. Plug you back in. 1. Come on. 2. And we'll plug you. I have these adapters, and they're wired backwards, which I found out today. Isn't that wonderful? We're gonna go in those boom boxes, and they're gonna be backwards. Oh, that was bad. Zeos is bad. Zeos is bad. What am I plugged into? I gotta check which device it's using. 1 second. Library, configure, output. It says it's on the EO1, which is what this is. Oh, yeah, I'm set to USB DAC. Oh, there you go. I didn't plug into the long. I plugged into the pre-out. That's why you don't use the pre. Oh, fuck me, bad, Steven. Bad. Line out. Not pre-out. Line out. Now this doesn't matter. Now it's all here. And this doesn't do shit. Well, when you shut it off, it does shit. Give it a second. Give it a second. You don't turn it right back on or it freaks out. Oh, it's freaking out anyway. There you go. Have you noticed something about it? Something bright and blue and annoying and needs to be murdered? Yeah. I do not like the blue light. If it's below you like this, it's not bad. But if you've got it shoved back and that is pointing anywhere at you, it is exactly as bright as it looks on camera. Retarded. So you're going to need to get some scotch tape over that or masking tape or get a magic marker and dull it out. It comes on red when it's warming up and I'm like, oh good, red. No, blue. I love it when equipment uses red. Red's nice. The SMS LM2 uses a red power indicator. Why can't you, Monoprice? That's blue gay shit. Alright, so. Did I freak it out? I freaked it out. I freaked it out big time. Go away and come back again, Mr. Scientist. Alright. Lower that. So now we've got, let's plug in something else. Let's plug my cow on in. I'll have this start in the interim. This will be our auxiliary test, which goes here. Now I also want to point out, these are my good Liberty cables, and they plug in and then they fall out because they're very short, the RCAs. They're not sticking out far enough to accept. These crappy ones have like paper thin cones, so they slide past the actual shield. But good RCAs, I kept wondering why isn't the sound playing, and it's because, yay, they fall out. All right, are these backwards? You gotta make sure they're backwards because all these crappy things I bought were backwards. So now we have a secondary. Pause that. Volume up to maximum on this. Put this up. So now we're listening to that.
Stand up. We shall not be moved except by a child with no.
Alright, so that works there, there, and there. Now if I plug my headphones in, which are laying on my lap, you will note that that still works. That still works, because we're using the line out, not the pre-out. We use the pre-out. They both work in both. That's the problem. The pre-out doesn't distinguish. There's no benefit to it unless you want to control the volume of the output through this. And it says 2 to 6 volt versus just straight up 2 volt. Frankly, I didn't even hear a difference. Right here, we want to test that. We can plug this in and test it. Hold on. 1, 2. Let's put this up. Unplug my headphones. Where is it? Where is it going? Alright, now plug it into the pre-out. It's all the way up. Where's the 6 volts? Maybe if I... Ah, the gain switch. Alright, the gain switch affects that. Alright. So now... So that's high gain mode, that. So it can push out a little bit more power than the line. And I shut it off again. And it's going to freak out again. Oh, that sucks. You suck. You suck. Stop it. How is that even a thing? I shut off the unit, and it kills the power to the DAC, and therefore kills the recognition on the computer. Why? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Oh, why would you... Now it's asking me which one you want to use, and I'm like, use this one. And, oh, I gotta restart FooBar again. This is mostly my Windows XP garbage computer messing this up, but, wow. So, what does that mean? That means don't shut... It's like the audio engine. The audio engine has a power button. The audio engine D1, and I don't know why, because you hit the power button and it disconnects the USB and your computer goes, I got no sound card, and it'll either revert back to default or do nothing and freak out your media player. So you can never shut this off then. I mean, if your computer's off, you can shut it off, but if your computer's on and this isn't on, she's not going to recognize it as a sound device and jump to the next step. So that is a fatal flaw, like fatal flaw. Which is why my system on my computer is the ODAC and this amp. Because I could shut this amp off, and the ODAC doesn't care. The ODAC just sits here constantly on, constantly being a DAC. And that's what this should do. This power switch should just shut off the headphone amplifier and the line outs. It should not shut off the DAC that's built in. This should just constantly power it 24 hours a day. Hey, I'm a USB DAC. Hey, I'm a USB DAC. And it's not going to do that. And therefore... you have to remember to turn this sucker on with your computer or leave it on all the time, which I don't really recommend because it does get warm. At least it's got a bright blue indicator. This damn thing... I have rubber around this, so it's really hard to see now. But there's a blue LED back there. Wow, that's a sucky thing. It's got to be Windows 7 and 8 probably don't care. It just doesn't happen. You may get a pop-up that says, hey, we've got no sound device, but I'll blame XP for that right now. So do I recommend this? This recording is babbling and moving around in space. Yes. Is a DAC as good as an ODAC? No. Is the amp as good as a SAP2? 99% is good. I cannot verify without, like, equipment to test. The volumes get up similarly. Actually, this will probably push a little harder in high gain mode, which I didn't use because my HM5s are not hard to drive. Does it have flaws? Yes. Not being able to use good RCAs, and only these shit little RCAs stay because they go past that line. That's sort of a fail thing. It's pretty. It's basically a FIO E17 chassis. Just sitting here. Without the dock on top. They just shove the DAC inside of it. Oh yeah, it gets real loud with the gain up. Switch to ooh, wait. I'm hearing distortion in that.
Every dead body that is not exterminated.
Can't tell from that song next.
Last call for Lost in Paradise. Hurry up. What you want me to do? Hurry up.
So in an ideal desk setup, you'd buy one of these, and you'd buy one of these, which the Monoprice DAC amp is actually bigger than a SAP2 than a SA50, which is interesting. You'd probably get them both in black, and they'd look like that. Because since topping has messed up and made the TP21 fail, or the I haven't tried the TP30. Someone's willing to send that to me also, so I'll be able to test how the DAC in that works. Although it doesn't have a does it have a headphone out? I don't recall. I don't recall right now. This would be a desk setup. You can never shut this off, because as soon as you click it off, there it goes. It's like, oh my god, I got a DAC. And now it doesn't come on. You gotta give it a second. I'm not sure if this is a problem with this unit. I didn't experience this before today. Oh, Monoprice. How I love thee for connectors and brackets. Reset the power switch. Okay. Whatever that means. Now, this isn't working because it's not even in the list. So let's switch back to the auxiliary. Well, that is the auxiliary. Wait. Oh, that's another thing. From here to there is no sound. So that's a big swing of no sound. Then you gotta go up. And now it's too loud. So I'd say there's like a 15 or 20 degree area where you go from just barely listenable to that's very loud. If you have super efficient headphones, this is a pain in the ass amp to really get tuned in to the correct volume. If you have hard drive headphones, you're probably better off. I wish I still had those AKGs to test this with. And yeah, there it is. There is the massive puddles of stuff that I've dealt with to bring you this report. Olicola.